Lisa is sad. Well, really, she's depressed, which is different from sad, but yeah, this is an episode about Lisa's emotional turmoil. Hi, I'm Torin, and welcome to Torin Loves The Simpsons. Today, we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 6, Moaning Lisa, an episode where Lisa is depressed and Marge struggles with how to help. We have a B-plot, the first in series history, about Homer and Bart competing with each other in a boxing video game. Lisa also befriends Bleeding Gums Murphy, marking his introduction in the series. Let's dive on in. As usual, let's start with the humor. There's not a whole lot of it in this episode, so let's knock it out. Bart's comment that there must be some mistake, that the letter from the school isn't about him, puts a little bit of a grin on my face. It gets a B-. Bleeding Gums' song title, the I Never Had an Italian Suit Blues, is quite nice and it gets a B+. Same for his line that the blues isn't about feeling better, it's about making other people feel worse. The Jacques Strap prank call is unremarkable and gets a C. Okay, humor done, not much, C+, let's move on. Plot time, because that's pretty much all there is to look at, and there is quite a bit to talk about. I have pretty mixed feelings about this plot and how it's executed. The introduction does a really solid job of setting the stage that Lisa's family life at home isn't great. Then we head off to school and spend the rest of Act 1 establishing that Lisa is unhappy in school, and it's a short Act 1, so while that might not sound like a lot to get done in the first act, we still have plenty of time left in the episode. So far, so good. I think things start to lose me a little bit in Act 2 when Lisa tries to give Homer an explanation of what she's depressed about, and it's a complete digression away from what we've established so far. It thematically calls back a little bit to her speech to Mr. Largo, and that it displays her social consciousness, but I don't see that as the plot point that's established in that speech. On the one hand, it seems like the episode is going for basically bombarding us with different things that are bothering Lisa and establishing that just kind of everything is wrong. But on the other hand, the episode is really losing focus here, except for the fact that Lisa is depressed. I feel like the plot would be more compelling if it focused a bit more on one or two things that Lisa is struggling with and explored those more deeply. It pretty much does after this. It narrows things down to her family life and her feeling creatively stifled. So the explanation to Homer of why she feels so down feels like a waste of time. We do start establishing that Homer and Marge are dropping the ball and they really don't know how to help Lisa, so it's not entirely wasted time. I also don't see how Homer could come to the conclusion that making Bart vacuum would help the situation, so that part feels weird to me. Bart having just had to do chores introduces the point of conflict between him and Lisa, so it feels like they were working backwards from there, and this is just the best they could come up with to transition to that point of conflict. But it feels forced. I also don't think it adds anything when Bart vacuums up the deck of cards, so that feels like more wasted time that we could have spent exploring Lisa's turmoil more. Or maybe spend on some jokes, since those are so sparse. Maybe it's an attempt at a joke and is so unremarkable that I don't recognize it as a joke. I feel like there have been a number of those so far this season. The plot starts to win me back over with the Maggie bit. I guess her picking the TV is kind of a joke, but it's not really that funny. It does, however, add to Lisa's struggle with her family life without giving Bart a victory, which I like since Bart's being kind of a dick here. And it's great to see the show has firmly established the family's passion for TV already. Seeing Lisa break down into tears after Homer yells at her is the most powerful moment of the episode, and in my opinion, it really establishes that her family life and her creative stifling are the main factors we're exploring, because it touches on both of those at the same time. And like I said earlier, those are really the things we continue looking at for the rest of the episode. The scene also continues to establish Homer as entirely incompetent at helping Lisa even when he's actively trying to, not to mention how much it solidifies Homer as, to be frank, the main villain of the story. I kind of love how the first time in the series we see one of the kids sneak out of the house, it's Lisa. And the segment of Lisa walking towards the jazz in the distance is so beautifully shot. It's atmospheric, and I think it really captures the melancholy of being lost in the night in a city. Then we get a bit of dialogue between Lisa and the as-yet unnamed Bleeding Gums that I think is just the perfect introduction to him as a character, and I'm a big fan of him as a character. Marge's dream segment is great for introducing Marge's turmoil. It's not clear if this is a specific memory or if it's a dream built off of the sentiments she received from her mother, but it sets things up nicely for the bad advice Marge gives to Lisa later. I think the bleeding gums scene is the best part of the episode. Like I said, I love bleeding gums, and it's really nice to see Lisa truly connect with someone. Not to spoil any later reviews, but the friendship between Lisa and Bleeding Gums that we see spark up here goes to some pretty compelling places later on, so I kind of love this scene for that, but it's also just so well done. They start off with the two talking shop about the sax, which, as a musician, I can attest is an absolutely realistic way for two musicians to kick off a conversation. And their jam session is wonderful. The animation is actually quite excellent as well. Other than a quick moment when Marge first starts to drive away where they drew the hands backwards, the animation of them playing is very realistic given the limitations of the medium and the limitations of them having fewer fingers than the average human. Plus, as mentioned earlier, this scene contains almost all the humor of the episode. I think the Lisa band practice segment has a bit of a stumble, though. It begins with Marge perpetuating the cycle passed on to her by her mother of forcing a smile, and that's perfectly cromulent. But the way the other kids react to Lisa smiling feels weird and forced again. Like it was just the best they could do with the rest of the plot points they had to work with. And to be fair, it probably was the best they could do, since the show was so early on and their budget was probably still very limited. But the end result feels forced. Mr. Largo besmirching Lisa's creativity feels like the perfect trigger for Marge's change of heart, so the forcedness of the interaction with the other kids fortunately doesn't linger too long, and we get a truly heartwarming speech from Marge. Lisa feels supported, and of course it really only could come from Marge, and I think it serves as a perfectly adequate resolution for a TV show plot. I don't think it's realistic that one speech would resolve so much turmoil in real life, especially if clinical depression were in play, but again, this is a TV show plot, and isn't claiming to be discussing clinical depression at all. Ending with Lisa getting to go to the jazz hole to see Bleeding Gums play is a satisfying way to wrap up this plot, and I dig it. I also don't mind getting some more music to see us on out, although the animation isn't quite as spot on here with the band, which is understandable with the more musicians to animate. The keyboardist is on the audience's left visually, but mixed on the right side of the audio, and there's a guitarist animated, but no guitar in the music, and the animation of the guitarist and bassist isn't so great. But again, I'm a musician, and I'm nitpicking here. Overall, I think the plot here makes a strong point about Lisa having a rough relationship with Homer, and there are some really great moments here, but also some weak and forced ones. It also feels kind of long and dragged out, like they're taking a long time to say what they have to say, so that hurts a little bit. I'm thinking this plot deserves a B+. But wait, there's more, because this episode has the first B-plot of the series. You may have noticed I completely skipped over the Homer-Bart video boxing parts, and that was because it's a separate plot, so we're going to talk about it separately. This B-plot is alright. It helps establish Homer as disinterested in Lisa, distracted by his conflict with Bart, and it helps drive things towards the scene where Homer yells at Lisa, so it ties in with the main plot a little bit. It's a simple B-plot, and doesn't contribute much, but it also doesn't take up much time, and it plays a little bit of a role in the main plot, so I'm giving it a B. Real quick before the final rating, while I've already mentioned that I love Bleeding Gums as a character, I also love Ron Taylor's work voicing him. According to the Simpsons wiki, he voiced Bleeding Gums for this episode and Ron Springfield, so he got to voice the character for his introduction and demise. I think the only other speaking role he ever had was in Dancin' Homer. There are a ton of other appearances listed on the Simpsons wiki, but I'm pretty sure the others are all background shots and such. We also have another episode written by Al Jean and Mike Reese, who, like I discussed in the There Is No Disgrace Like Home review, are going to become extremely important figures in the show's history later on. Not to spoil that other video if you haven't seen it already, but suffice to say, I think they wrote a much better episode this time. And I think it's cool to see how much of an influence they had on developing Lisa specifically. Also, contrary to what you may hear from others, this is most certainly not Ralph Wiggum. This is a season 1 only character that we never see again, completely different character from Ralph Wiggum. Fight me. And now, for the final rating. We have a C+ for humor, a B+ for the main plot, and, quite fittingly, a B for the B-plot. Let's go with B overall. As much as it can feel dragged out, I think it ultimately has a strong enough message, and I love how it sets things up for Bleeding Gums to return later on. I'm not sure, but I feel like it might be a little bit of a hot take that I'm ranking this episode so low compared to some of the other episodes we've seen so far. From what I've heard, this episode seems to be considered one of the stronger ones of the season, and I think it's decent, but by no means a highlight of the season. Thank you for watching. I'm always curious to hear other opinions, so let me know down in the comments what you think of the episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell dealio to get notifications. Next week, we'll be back with the Call of the Simpsons, so I will see you in that video.